Fusion tutorial for a coffee mug. So I kind of figured it was a good project to get going on if you've never touched Fusion before at all. I kind of wanted to start by asking who's got what level of experience, just so I've got a gauge of like if there's anybody that's like literally never opened it before, and if so, do you have an account and all that stuff? So
I just opened mine for the very first time in honor of this event.
nice.
I have it right here.
How about you, Brenda?
I have zero experience with it also.
Cool. Who else is on the line? There's Rich.
Yeah, and I think, Brenda, we didn't hear you. But,
oh, yeah, I have no experience. I didn't turn on my mic. I have no experience.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, Rich is in here. I'm in here, and I might actually have 3 windows in here.
Nice.
from the last presentation. So
Cool.
if I could to get rid of them, I would.
Yeah, this is so meta.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, I can see myself.
It's infinite.
Horror movies.
Okay, well, first of all, I apologize for the state of my office. This is half storage room, so you're gonna have to. I need one of those like transparent backgrounds so you can think I'm in the Millennium Falcon or something. But okay, so let me start by sharing my screen, and we'll get started. This should work better than last time we tried it. So cross your fingers. All right. So can we see that? Sweet. Okay. We're halfway there. So let's close out of that. That's going to be the end. Oh, and that's another side project. Okay, so when you open up Fusion 360, you're going to be presented with basically what you see here, right? You actually might not even see this. So it might just be, I think it usually leaves a default empty part in front of you. So in the center here, I've got the untitled file. This is where you do all your work. And then on the side, if you don't see what's down here, it's not going to look as busy as mine is. But if you don't see this, that little it looks like a tic-tac-toe thing on the upper left. You just click that, and that opens up. There's like some useful stuff down here if you want to like double-click these, and they'll take you through like little training things that they have and samples and stuff. But what we want to do to start is go up to New Project on the upper left, and I'm just going to choose Mug Project. And this is, you can kind of think of it like a folder. So after you put in the name, it'll just pop in there, and you double click it to go inside of it. And since we don't have anything, it's empty. So as with anything where you're trying to reverse engineer or reverse draw or draw anything from a reference, we have to get references. So yeah, that's what I always recommend you do, is go online. So we're going to go, I'm just going to go search mug. And one of the things that's really good when you're starting something in a program like Fusion, where you kind of need to know how big things are, which is not all software, but if you want to know how big things are, it's a really good idea to just put dimensions on the end of whatever thing that you're searching. And so you can look through in Google Images and you'll get, you know, pretty much whatever you search for, somebody out there has taken a picture of it and put dimensions around the thing, which is super useful for what we're doing. So yeah, in regards to this tutorial, I went ahead and I found a couple. You might find that a couple of the images are like hard to get. Like I think this one, like clicked through, and then you like try to right click it, and it doesn't end up being like, yeah, this is a .gif. So some of the images just don't work. So you may have to go through a couple, but anyway, I went through and I found a couple to work from. And actually, before we get started, I wonder if I can share. This might be too much. Anyway, so I'm going to select some files. I'm trying to figure out how I can share these files. Share. This is the file that I use. Share this file with you. And it makes me think of a feature in Fusion. Maybe we could try this. I'm curious how this will work. But I'm just going to take this project and add people to it. So I wonder if I can just get everybody's. I wonder. Should I just, JR, do you think I should just share this via email addresses? Like put everyone's email in here and then they can all see what's in here? I'm kind of wondering if that's the best approach.
Yeah, so just give you mine.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep. So you need our email in the chat?
Yeah, that would be perfect. I was like thinking, oh my God, it's going to take forever to like say your email and spell it, but. All right. So there's one of them. Oh no. Hold on. I think this is still going to work. I'm just, we're working through this. All right, so after this works, each of you is going to get an email from yours truly that basically, this is a really cool facet of Fusion 360, which is that you can have projects that are shared through the cloud. So what I'm doing now is adding you guys as users. Who else do we need them from? I think we need it from Brenda and Rich and Julia.
That's it. Yeah, we got you. I think it's just the four of us right now.
Oh, really? Okay. Sorry, I'm just looking at the list here.
Because when it screencasts, it shows multiple screens, and then I'm logged in twice. It hits.
Okay. Okay. Well, so if you don't have the picture, just go ahead when you get a chance, send me the email, and in the meantime, we can just move on, and you can just follow the operations that we're doing. So, yeah.
So how does this work? I have access to it. Do we download it, or are we just going to watch you?
There should be a link so that you can open up the project in your Fusion 360 install.
Right, but since it's new, is it going to automatically update as you work on it, or will it be the version that it is at this time, and then anything from that point forward would be my work?
It's whatever is in there is what's, like, for example, I'm just going to save this file, and I'm going to call it, we made this mug project, and I'm just going to call it mug model and CB, since those are my initials. So now I've got this, and tell me if you see that in your project. I'm not sure how fast it actually updates. But anyway, if you see it, cool. If not, relax. You don't have to follow along real time or anything. I can just kind of take you through it. Is Is that good with everyone?
Sounds
It's
good.
making me download a Autodesk connector. So
Okay. All right. Well, it may be too complicated to do it real time. So yeah, let's get started. So you're starting out with a screen like this. It's kind of like writer's block where you just don't have anything in the center. So what I usually do is on the upper left, there's that origin folder. And so this eyeball shows visibility on anything. And it's kind of like a hierarchy. So if you have this turned on, but then you turned off the eyeball that's over this whole thing, it goes away, right? Yeah, and I guess to start out, before we do anything, just the way you move around in Fusion is something that you're going to have to do a lot. So let's get started with that. The first thing is pan. So if you hold down your middle mouse button and move side to side or whichever direction you want, that's how you pan. So that's moving in 3D space without rotating. And so if you have a part that you're trying to like move across, that's a big action. And then rolling is if you hold Shift key and do the middle mouse click. So now I can roll around in whatever way I can.
Oh, but it orbits around the central point, though.
Yes.
That doesn't move. Okay, cool.
The default is around the origin point, that white dot. And the thing to remember with that is you can actually reset it. But we'll get into that once we actually have a thing to like play with. And then zoom is just, you can't really see it here because there's no object in the screen, but zoom is just scrolling your scroll wheel. So makes sense. Yeah, so just kind of, if you want, just like, it may seem kind of silly, but just kind of play with that for a little while. You're gonna have to do it a lot. So the sooner that you practice it, the more that you're gonna get used to it, and the faster you'll be in Fusion. So this kind of thing seems kind of silly sometimes, but I can't tell you how many people I see that like they're trying to learn something with Fusion or CAD, and they're struggling with just moving around in the scene, and that's not their fault or anything. It's just that's something like a foundation that you have to have a solid understanding of before you can get to like the crazy stuff. And if you try to jump it, you'll find that you're still fighting this thing while you're trying to do something else. So it's kind of annoying. But anyway, so here we are in the scene, and the way that I get the image that we had loaded is with this insert button up top. So I load that up, and this is kind of the folder system. If you're just starting out, you're just going to see your project here and no other things. So it's just going to be up in the upper left here. And under project, you're going to see if you have anything loaded in there. You're going to have your picture that you uploaded from Google that you just pulled from the internet. So we're going to do that. And then the first thing is picking what face. You can see this box popped up on the upper right. Nothing else happened. And it's because it's asking you to select where you want this picture placed on. So we're going to roll around, and you can see as I roll around in the upper right, there's that cube. So there's back, front, right, left, top, bottom. So for this, I'm going to go with front. Front seems like a good direction today. So before we even worry about scaling it and stuff like that, we're just going to drop it. So you just hit OK, and now it's in my scene like this. And this is what I'm about to show you is the coolest feature. I don't have this in any other CAD system that I know of, and it's really exciting. It seems silly, but it's actually really nice. So if you go in the upper left, you will notice that you now have a canvases folder under your origin folder. If you click the little triangle next to it, you get this image here. And if you select calibrate, now I'm in this mode. Don't click anything else yet, but I'm in this mode where you can calibrate the size of this canvas to the size of your CAD environment. So that's super handy, right? You can take an image that this says a certain size on it, and now I can resize it to be perfectly matched with the size of the scene. So the first thing that we need to do is click so that we're facing, we're kind of at an angle, so we can't really judge exactly where the corners of this cup are. So what I'm going to do is just click back. And when you click any of these faces on here, it snaps to the directly normal facing view of that direction, right? So I'm going to click back. And now I'm snapped into this orientation where I'm looking head on against the drawing. So with the calibrate mode activated, I can just click from here to here. And right now it says 3.4 millimeters, right? It says the mug is supposed to be 76 millimeters wide. So I'm just going to put in 76 millimeters. Cool. And now that I've done that, I got to zoom way out because I just made it way bigger. And check this out. So now if we go back, I'm going to right click again to calibrate. I'm not going to hit enter, but I'm just going to click it again just to get a rough idea. So now if I click again, it says I'm 75 millimeters because I was kind of careless in how I selected it, but roughly 76 millimeters in diameter. So our drawing is now aligned with the size of the scene. So if we draw a cylinder that's 76 millimeters in diameter, it's going to match this picture perfectly. So now that we have a reference, actually I'm going to move it a little bit so that it can be centered around the origin. The origin is this stuff here. If you don't see it, there's that little eyeball here on the upper left. So I kind of want the cup to be centered around the origin, and I'll explain why when we do it. So I'm going to click back. I'm going to click my canvas, and I'm going to hit Edit Canvas. So that allows this little handle thing to pop up, and now I can move it around with, if you grab the square. And if you need to change like the scale of it, I would grab one of these bars. And if you just want to move it in one direction, you can grab these arrows. So that's a very common thing in a lot of CAD systems, is there's these handles that you can like grab, and they're really useful. So I'm just going to try to place the bottom of the cup at the center. And if you can tell, it's kind of hard to do that because the cup is not, it's a picture. It's not a perfect view. So I'm just going to try to move it around until I think it's somewhat in the center, and then commit and go with it. So that's one of the things that's kind of tough with working with reference drawings, because you can't ever get it like perfect. So you kind of have to use the reference drawing that you've got on here and maybe some other reference drawings to get a better idea of what it looks like, and then you can continue on. So yeah, so now that we've got it aligned and where we want it positioned, the next step for this version of the cup drawing or mug drawing is we're going to go up here to create sketch on the upper left. So it showed this grid when you first click it, but it doesn't actually do anything, and that's because it's asking you to tell it what plane you want to have your sketch on. So just hovering your mouse around, you can see how those planes are flashing blue to yellow, right? That's because the blue is what you actually have selected, and then the yellow is just a normal thing. So for us, I think we want to just choose that plane because it aligns with our cup. And as soon as you do that, it snaps normal to the view, because whenever you're making a sketch, it's always on that plane. So you want to be perfectly facing it. So now that we're there, now we can start drawing some geometry. And let's see, how should we start? Yeah, so on the upper left, there's a line tool. The shortcut for that, which is very handy to know, is the L key. So if I hit escape for a second to get out of it, if I hit the L key, it'll just auto turn this thing on. So my next click, I'll have put a point on the grid. So I'm just going to start. I put a point there. I'm going to draw one out. Do one down there. You see how I'm like kind of envisioning the inside of the mug. And then I'm going to go kind of short of the bottom here because the thickness of the mug is there. So you'll notice as you drag it out, it'll kind of snap to each axis. One of the things that's really useful, that's kind of hard to see on here, but if you bring your mouse to a point and then drag it back, you'll see it puts like a dashed green line. So that's a really nice feature if you need to align with something. So I'm going to drag my mouse over the origin, and then I'm just going to drag it up. And what that does is it aligns, and then I click, and that aligns it with the z-axis, so it's right over that point. And all I have to do is click down on the origin now. And now I'm going to go the other way to form the outside of the cup. So I'm going to click and then click. So you'll notice the inside of where we just clicked is now blue, and when you hover your mouse above it, you can kind of select it. That means it's a closed region, and that's a really important thing because we can actually get out of this, click Finish Sketch, and when we go and select something like the, let's start with Extrude just to show you how it works. If we start with Extrude and we have that region already selected like I did, then you can just pull it out. And you grab that arrow and it'll just extrude it as long as you want. So for us, we don't actually want the extrude because this thing is in a cylinder shape, not an L shape. So I'm going to go and choose revolve. So since I've already got one region selected, that's selected, and now it's asking me for axis, the axis that I want to revolve it around. So you just click the axis of that, the inside of that L, and it'll just spin it around that axis, and now you've got a cup.
So, Colin, I was unsuccessful in getting the shared file. It said I wasn't part of your hub, so I don't know what that means. But I was also unsuccessful in getting the image imported. So I was wondering if there, I don't know if Julia had the same problem or others that are following along.
Well, I see the image, but I'm not getting the canvas option that
Ooh.
it's there, but I can't seem to manipulate it.
Okay.
So
maybe one of us can share a screen and you can
also it's backwards.
Okay.
Yeah. Julia, do you want to try and share your screen and see if Colin can troubleshoot it?
Yeah. I'm going to stop presenting.
Womp womp. Okay, present now. Okay.
Oh wow, we get 2 of JR.
I know.
Yeah.
Like I said, so meta. Okay, so this is what I'm looking at right now.
Perfect.
It is inverted, but down over here, there's no canvas option.
Okay. Yeah.
This is here. Like it says canvas on this side.
Yep.
Like, did I just not?
No. So you see on the lower.
Oh wait, no. Okay, there it is.
Yeah. You were like in the mid space, right?
Okay, got it.
Not totally created yet. And the reason it's backwards is because it's actually facing the opposite direction. So if you roll your camera,
can I adjust based on okay. Yeah. So rolling.
Yeah.
And to snap, can I?
Yep. So if you just click back.
Yeah. Okay. There we go.
Right. So then you can, yeah, should be all set.
Right. So I didn't hit OK. If you don't do that, guys, FYI, nothing happens. See, we've learned something today.
I think you also had a little window like over your dialog box.
Yeah. So anyhow, and so the next thing, I don't remember what the next thing you did was, so I'm just gonna.
So yeah, just to catch up real quick, if you just right click on mug side, the actual picture under canvases, then there's
Calibrate?
right?
Okay, so that was when you went, Oh, do you drag it?
Nope, just 2 clicks.
And then it's. Will this automatically go to millimeters? Or do you have to set it?
It depends on your defaults. In this case, it will, I think.
Yeah,
But
okay,
you might as well. I always put in the units because I never know. Because I'm swapping units all the time.
Where did you? Oh, there we go.
So the way you can check is just to do the same operation again, and just make sure that when you measure using the calibrate tool, don't hit OK or anything, but you'll see how far apart it is.
Right. Okay, so calibrate, right click.
Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Here, and I can unpresent. There you go.
Well, or you can continue catching up.
Yeah.
Or we'll try and get. I'll present, and I'll see if I could get my document even imported.
So the sketch, stupid question, sketch tool, which one am I looking up at the top?
It's all the way in the upper left.
Oh, okay. Create a sketch. Got it.
Yeah.
Is that what I meant?
Oh,
all right,
sorry.
so,
yeah, it's to the right of that design button. Good catch, JR.
to the right. Over here.
To the right of the design button.
Oh yeah, solid right here.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know why they don't put. So
that's why the import wasn't working. Nothing was working. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So I can.
But yeah.
Oh, I did forget. How did you move the image to the origin? That's the one thing I forgot to do. I did not.
Oh, sure. So if you go to here, actually, I'll just
take over sharing.
No, it's fine actually. Just now that you have it, you've got it calibrated, right? You just go and right click like you did when you calibrated, and do edit canvas.
Okay, and that'll allow me to move it.
Yeah, it'll allow you to open it up again.
And so I might be thick. So I have. Let me just check the mug's actually there.
Oh, you're still trying to get the image in there, right?
Yeah.
Jeff? All right, so you're gonna want to get out of. You're in a sketch right now, which is a step further than you want to be. So just hit finish sketch.
So I want to go back
in the upper right. There's that green finish sketch check mark.
Okay. Yep.
So you're gonna want to. That gets you out of like the sketch, which is when you're actively drawing stuff.
Oh, sure. And now here I paste.
I'm kind of confused why your screen is completely blank.
I noticed yours had a gradient and mine did not.
Yeah. If you go to the left there, if you hit browser. Oh, okay. So yours was hidden for some reason. Yeah, you can drag that out.
Okay.
If you move your mouse away, does it go back? Does it like collapse? Try like clicking in the center of the screen. Yeah, click the double arrows there. I think that'll make it pop out permanently.
Yep.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, and you can just delete sketch 1. You don't want to use that right now, so just yeah, there you go. So for you, JR, you're just gonna go up to the right under or over where it says insert. And that's where you select your image if you've got one. Sweet. All right.
Okay,
and now,
that's what I missed. I wasn't using it. I was trying to copy and paste it. Oh, I still don't see it.
Right, because it hasn't activated yet because it wants to know what plane you want to put it on. So if you hover over one of those, just decide, I don't know,
Whoa.
front.
I'm in.
Boom. And so now that you've done it, just click away, click like in the center. You don't want to have to move it yet. And now that you've got it in there, you can actually pull it down under canvases. I'm like pointing on the screen like you're right there.
Yeah.
And then right click under mug size rectangle and just hit calibrate.
The right click is not doing anything.
Whoa.
It isn't there.
I think your computer is lagging a little bit.
Yeah, it's all right. Why don't you keep going, and I'll be, I'll follow where I can.
Okay.
Why don't you take over?
Okay. Yeah. So, I'll take a couple steps back if that works for you guys, and just try to catch everybody up by just doing it all over again. How's that?
Yep.
Sure.
I got the body. I got it to revolve. Have
Sweet.
a cylinder.
Nice. Okay.
No handle. You will burn yourself, but it's there.
As long as it's cold water, you're fine.
That's true.
All right. Entire screen. Okay. Does everybody see that?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to go under, well, there's sketches here, which is one thing, but I want to direct your attention, since I'm going back to the bottom. You see this, like, there's three things right here. That is a very short timeline. And what's cool about it is you can actually go back in time to before you did certain operations. So if you want to do something before, let's say, before I did the revolve, I would just drag this little line with the triangle on it. I would drag it over. And when I do that, the revolve goes away like it never existed. So that's useful for when you, like, say you mess up or you want to, like, add something before you did something else. This is a really useful tool. I use it all the time. So in the short term, I'm just going to delete all this stuff. So just click that, hit the delete key, click this, which is the sketch, and hit the delete key. And now I'm back to just the picture. And then just to try to answer the appearance settings, just a sec. Let's see if I can. Yeah, so environment. Yeah, so this is what it is, JR. If you go on the very bottom, there's the little TV display settings. You can go to environment, and then I have, I don't know why, the infinity pool selected. Probably because it sounds awesome. But yeah, oh, that's kind of cool. Anyway, so you can select whatever you want. All right, so now that we've got this, I've got the the reference picture kind of scaled and put roughly where I want it to be. I'm gonna go into my sketch. And the way I do that is up here under create sketch. If you hover your mouse, it'll give you actually a really good description of what this stuff is. But on the face of it, it just doesn't have a name, which is kind of annoying. So hit create sketch, and now it's asking what sketch plane I want to sketch on. So for this, since I'm oriented with this reference picture, I'm going to move my mouse until it hits blue, and then click. And now that I'm there, I've got a view of the mug that we're going to draw, and we can do the line tool. That's what you're going to use to outline the cup. So you can either click the line tool, or I like to just hit the L key. And if you can remember to do that, that will save a lot of time, because you'll find you're doing a lot of clicking when you're doing CAD. So this is kind of an interesting thing. I'm trying to pull down, and it won't be recognized as, it won't snap to that red line sometimes. So the way you can make it snap to that red line to be perfectly horizontal with the origin is I actually just go hover over the origin and just move your mouse to the right. And you see that green dashed line is telling me that I'm snapped on the line. So I'm going to click again. I'm going to click over here. Now we're going to add a little bit of thickness. So I'm going to click in there. And then I'm going to go on the inside of the cup, like that, and then see how it doesn't snap. I want it to snap to be right next to the other edge. So I'm going to go over and just hover over that edge and drag it out. And it's going to have this green dashed line, which is going to tell me that it's perfectly horizontal compared to the other dot.
So you're going over that and then clicking and dragging, or you're just hovering over it and dragging?
All hover. Yep. No
Hover,
clicking.
all hover. Okay.
So you're just, it's a way to cue the computer into you wanting to do something, right? So you're gonna like hover over and the computer's gonna go, oh, he cares about that point. And then if you move your mouse off of it, it's gonna go, I think he still cares about that point, so I'm gonna draw a line to it. So there's a lot of stuff like that in CAD that is, that's why instruction like this is good, because there's a lot of features that can be very confusing at first, but as you start doing stuff, they become really useful and they make you faster, which is what a lot of people, typically professionals, want to do, is they want to be able to make stuff really fast. So let me get this out of the way. So now that we have that, you can see my tool is still activated. If you ever see a symbol next to your cursor that you aren't planning on making anything, just hit the escape key and it'll go away. So now that I've got this, I'm going to go to finish sketch. So one thing before I do that, this is actually a good opportunity. I'm not sure that I have all my lines vertical. So the way I can kind of check, or the way I check, is by just dragging stuff around. So if you just grab points, you can kind of make sure that the lines are vertical. And the reason you want to do that is because, let's say we don't have a constraint. And I'll explain what constraints are, I think, down the road. I think that's a little advanced right now, but you can just, if you don't have the right amount of constraints, when you go to change something, it won't behave the way you think it will. Like I drew this line vertically, right? But if it's not perfectly vertical, if you drag stuff around, now it's going to be at an angle, which means the computer doesn't know it's supposed to be at a vertical thing. So the way that we fix that is we can just click it, and then all the constraints are up here. The one that we want for this one is called vertical, and you click that button and now it's vertical. But oh god, now I made this not vertical, so I can click this line and it also becomes vertical. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yep, I think so.
Okay, that's a pretty critical part of CAD, is you can move stuff around until you apply constraints. So it's kind of important to, you know, as you make stuff, a lot of people apply constraints. In this case, since we're just drawing a mug, I don't feel that compelled to make it like perfectly accurate to 12.00 inches or whatever. But yeah, just something to know about for the future. So I'm going to get out of this sketch, and you can see it's a closed region because I can hover my mouse over it, which is cool. So I'm going to hit revolve in the upper left. And since I only have one region, I guess it just auto selects that region for your revolve. But it does want me to tell it the axis. So I'm going to select the very inner part of that. And like magic, I get a cylinder. So, and because it's an L, I have a bottom on it, which is kind of nice. How are we doing? Are we all caught up?
Okay.
Well, I didn't catch up, but I think you should go ahead without me.
Okay.
Yeah. And we have, I am going to have to jump out in not too long
Okay.
for the other event. So.
Sure. Well, the next step is more or less a repeat of this operation. All we're going to do, just to catch you up and to give everyone else a heads up, is we're just going to draw an outline of the handle and then extrude it in a straight direction instead of in a revolved direction. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So let's go and do that now. We're going to hit create sketch, a new sketch, and same thing, without clicking anything, it's going to be like, where do you want me to apply it? So usually I just move the mouse around until I can see that the plane I want is blue. And it's kind of subtle, which is not my favorite thing about Fusion, but every CAD system is a little different. They all have their quirks. So I'm going to hit that, and now I'm in that plane.
And if it doesn't turn blue?
Then you got to keep moving your mouse around. It doesn't make sense.
Like I can't just...
Yeah, one thing that you can do to make it a little easier is if you know what plane you want, you can kind of roll your mouse around to be normal to it. So what I mean by that is, I'm going to delete this again. If I go and I select the sketch tool and I can't, for some reason I can't get that plane, I'm going to just roll so I get a different perspective, and then I'm going to keep moving my mouse around, and there it is for me. Did that work for you?
No, but you should go on. Leave me
Okay.
behind.
Now, one more thing. I'm gonna try to save you one more time. Is you see in the upper right, there's a Z, an X, and a Y, right? You should
Yes.
see that no matter where you're pointing.
Yep.
So what you're gonna do is, if you know what plane you want to be on, then you can just go over here to under Origin. If you expand out that folder, now I've got these 3 planes. And if you hover over them without being in anything, it'll...
Oh, there we go.
Right?
Yes.
So it's slower, but it does work every single time. So sometimes I have to use that.
Cool.
So I've got that one selected, and if it's pre-selected and you hit sketch, it'll just jump right into it. So, okay. Now we're going to do the handle. So you're in your sketch, we're looking at the cup, and we're looking at this background. This is a nice and curvy handle, and I didn't choose a simple handle because there's this really fun tool called Point Spline. It's on the upper left, 4th from the left. And you're just going to click that guy. And I'm just going to roughly draw out with points the shape of the handle. And the key with the Spline tool is use as little points as possible. You're going to probably think I'm doing a horrible job at first. Look at this. It's like way outside of this thing. But all it takes is like a couple points here and there. And then I'm going to, after I click the last point, you'll see these check marks. Now I'm done with it, so I'm going to click that. So now I've got this thing which doesn't look quite right, and my cursor looks like it's still active. So I'm going to hit the escape key to get the tool active. It wanted to draw another spline. And I'm trying to select this first point rather, and I can't because it's the cup itself is highlighting. So I'm gonna just go and turn that off by going over to the folder for bodies, and I'm just gonna turn that whole thing off. So that what that does is any solids that are created already, like a cup or anything that you extrude or revolve, that all sits in this bodies tool. So you can just turn that whole folder on and off, and whatever is in there will just get turned off. And the reason I wanted to do that is because now I can go and I can click around and try to make this fit better. So if you click a point, the way the Spline tool works is it has these little lines that kind of control it, and the length of them matters, and the direction of them matters.
So it's just like Inkscape. It's a vector thingy.
Totally, yeah. If you're
Got
familiar
it.
with Inkscape, it's exactly like a spline tool that you've used in anything
Yes.
else.
I've done one whole tutorial in it. Thanks, JR.
That's more than I have.
Welcome.
So you can see I'm just trying to like fit it. Since it's an organic shape, yeah, there's no real engineering principles.
Okay, and so I've got my line drawn. I just hit enter to make it get to the point where I can adjust the handles, right?
Do you see the
Alright.
green check mark?
Okay, so I just do finish sketch even though it's following me.
No, the
there
green
we go.
check mark right next to the point. Do you see that one?
Hold on.
Okay, I'll do it again. So I'm gonna select
I'm
the
sorry.
spline tool. You select a couple things, and then you see that little thing.
Oh, yeah, no, I didn't see that at all.
Yeah.
All right.
So you just click that, and then you're done. But before you click anything else, make sure you hit the escape key because your cursor is still active.
Yes, I hit the other check mark, which was finished sketch. So I'm just going to delete this and do another one.
Okay.
All right, sorry.
No worries. So
Remedial student. Okay.
no, that's fine. So I'll just get rid of this whole thing then, and click. The general rule I use for spline tools is if it's at like an apex, like if you see a curve that, say the outside of it is, to the right there, just put a point there and that'll be an anchor point for the curvature. So then there's like an inflection there, something like that. And I still got to move this guy around. So this may be something that you got to fiddle with a little bit. You can always go back, I will say. Don't feel like you have to make it perfect right now because you can go back and make it very nice. All right. I think that's where I'm going to leave it. So now that I'm done with that, I'm going to select the line itself. I hit escape a couple times just to clear stuff out. You get used to doing that with CAD. I'm going to hit this, and then a new tool that we haven't used before is called offset. And what that does is if you have a line selected, I'm going to go without selecting anything. If you have a line selected like this one, it's going to have this little handle and you just pull it. And it makes things offset from the line that you select, which is
does it? So it deforms it to keep a uniform distance between the inner and the outer?
Exactly. So it's perfectly offset.
That's
the nice
brilliant.
thing about CAD. Right, so I can
that little phenomenon is like one of the most annoying things about my job.
Oh, really?
It's like dealing with it with actual stuff. Ugh.
Yeah,
All right.
Yeah, no, in computers it's all easy. You just click the offset button. Click the easy button. So I'm going to click that, and now I've got an offset line. And you'll notice that I'm missing this whole big chunk, right? So I'm just going to go back into my spline tool, click on the offset line that was already there. Maybe I'll click one more here, one more there. That'll kind of make that one. And yeah, so then I'll make, from there I'll make another line, just point it inwards. I'll tell you why later. Kind of make it at an angle or something like that. And then this one, I'm going to hit the L key to close this guy. Oh, yeah, closing. Sorry. Okay, so you'll notice none of this is blue, which is what we had before when we were doing revolves. So the reason for that is because I have an open curve. So there's nothing that's closing this. So if I close out of the sketch for a second and then I hit extrude, when I hover my mouse over this, none of it turns blue because it doesn't have like a closed region to stretch into 3D space, right? So I'm going to go back into my sketch and hit the L key to bring up the line tool, and I'm going to click from point to point. And then same thing with this one, point to point. So now that I did that, it just turned blue. And it's because I just closed out that contour. But this one didn't close out, so I'm going to close this one out with another line like that. And then I'm going to go and add a spline because I'm missing that part of the handle. So I'm going to click like here, do something like that. Cool. And then to close it out again, I'm going to hit the L key after hitting the escape key a bunch of times and do that. Cool. Okay, before I get out of this, I'm just going to check that this kind of looks good next to the cup. So you'll see on the left, I'm just turning that folder on and off, right? And
that's under bodies.
yeah, if you,
Okay.
you can just hide the whole folder for bodies. So that looks good to me. So I'm going to close this, turn off bodies first. I'm going to close this sketch, so finish sketch. And now when you hover your mouse over it, it's got multiple regions that it highlights. So that's important. We're going to go to Extrude, and you're going to click all of those regions. Make sure you get all of them. And now that we've got that, we've got the Extrude tool active, we've got our region selected. The new thing that we're going to do for this is in this Extrude pull down, the dialog box, it says direction. So if we just did one side, it would just be dragged out in one. Oops. Make sure your tool is active. It would just go in one direction. We don't want one direction. We want it to be symmetric because we want it to be perfectly, you know, lined up with the center of the cup. Otherwise, that would be kind of a weird cup. So the other thing that you'll notice is that it's red. Red means that it's cutting through whatever bodies are there. So the way we make that not happen is we can do new body. When we do new body, it's not talking, like it's not joining with the other cup. There's two bodies in the model now, and they're totally separate. They just happen to be like going through each other. Does that make sense?
But they're not grouped in any way. They're
not grouped. They're just
autonomous.
Like two things that happen to be going through each other, but they don't actually interact, which is something you can only do in computers. So yeah, I'm going to hit OK because that looks pretty good. That's a little bit of a wide handle. So the way I can go back to my...
Now, did you physically pulled it out, or did you put in a millimeter?
Oh, here, I'll show you. I just grabbed this blue handle,
Mm-hmm.
and I just pulled it until it kind of looked right. Since we're just doing something like that.
Got it. Okay.
Cool. So for me, it's 5 millimeters in each direction.
Okay, and so I could set 5 millimeters in the box, and that'll make it.
Yep.
Oops.
I'm going very constraints light for this. I'm just kind of pulling stuff out until it looks right. So apologies if you're looking for numbers. One thing that I'm noticing is, you see how the bottom of this corner kind of protrudes out of the mug? Can you guys see that?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of, okay. That's going through. So what I can do without even going back into the sketch and adjusting it and then having to leave the sketch and all that, you can actually just go and turn on the sketch under the sketch folder, turn it back on because it'll go away as soon as you extrude. And then I'm going to hover my mouse until I see it white. And then I'm just going to drag it with my mouse. I can click it and drag it. And the nice thing about Fusion is it allows you to like interact with those little points even though they're inside of a sketch. So that's pretty rare. So that's kind of a nice feature. But
I managed to make 2 holes in the mug instead of adding a handle. I obviously
sure. So go back
wrong.
on the bottom on that timeline. You've got your extrude. Just double click that, and then in the dialog box, you're going to want to go to Operation New Body.
Yep, I had that. Yep. That was what was there.
So
Symmetric profile plane. Start.
I've got profile plane. That's normal. Symmetric is what you want. Extent is distance.
Yep.
I didn't touch any of these, so they should be whatever they were.
Whole length, half length. Okay. Giving it a try. Nope.
Is it working? Do you want to share your screen?
Hold on 1 second. I will not be defeated by this. All right. I can, if you would like to watch the tragedy unfold.
No problem. I don't know. I don't know if Google Meets allows you to like control someone else's computer through the mouse. I think it may.
It's possible, but then how will I ever learn? I may not, is what I'm saying. But okay, so
Just to point to stuff, but
I'm gonna try 5 millimeters. Enter objects. Why are you saying I don't want to cut? Okay.
yeah. So it
All
loves
right.
to
So
cut.
new body. I had it on new body for some reason. It changed to cut, and
Oh,
now
okay.
I think that I have it.
Nice. So, since we're out of time, what I want to do is just kind of, I'll tell you what's next, and since this is recorded, you can go back and watch it again.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and you guys can keep going. I'm going to be in the other thing, but I'm going to leave this running and recording. So
Cool.
do as you see fit.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. All right, so speed version. There aren't a ton of operations left, so just gives you a quick heads up of what's to come. Basically, all you do is over here in bodies. If you click out that folder, you'll see there's 2 things in there, right? We've got our handle, and then we've got our actual cup. We want them to be the same thing because they're 2 selective things. They're not one. So the way you do that is up top, there's a combine button under modify, or above modify, I should say. And you hit that, you hit one of them, and then you hit the other one, and then you click OK. And now they're one thing because there's only one body in that folder. So that's a cup. It looks like a cup, but it's kind of rough, right? It's got sharp edges. So this is honestly, I get compliments on this, and it's like the simplest thing to do. All you have to do is fillet things. Fillet is rounding corners, and it just makes stuff look so much better. And it takes so little work. So let me show you how to do it because I think it'll be fun. If you hit the F key, or if you go up here to fillet, you activate the fillet tool and just select a couple edges. Let's just select these top 2. And then I'm going to drag this blue arrow extremely slowly. You got to make sure you don't move it a lot because it's very sensitive. But I can just grab it and it applies a rounded edge to the top of the mug. So I'm going to do that there. And then hit OK. And then I'm going to do another one. Let's do one on the bottom. Try to add a little bit of character to this otherwise featureless mug. And since we're done with the canvas, we can just hide that whole thing, and now we're just looking at the mug, which is useful. Yeah, and let's add, I'm going to pull up the fillet tool again, and I'm going to do the outer edge here. The outer edges, I should say. Just pull that in, like that. Cool. And since we're doing it, if you're getting fillet crazy, you can actually hold down the, I think it's Command. Yeah, it's Command in Mac. I think it may be Alt or Control. Play around with your keys if you're on Windows. I'm not really sure what it is, but if you hold it down, you'll notice it kind of makes it go back to what it was before it was filleted. So I'm going to hold down that key, which I think for Windows is Alt or Control or Shift, one of those. And I'm just going to click more of these lines. And if they're not blue, that means they won't get filleted. So I'm just going to fillet these guys and then release for me, the Command key. And I've got that. So I'm going to add, so that looks good for those fillets. Maybe I'm going to go in after and fillet these bottom ones. You can see how you just get really carried away adding fillets to things, which I'm very guilty of doing. But yeah, so now I've got that. It is kind of like weirdly suddenly going into the mug, so I'm just going to do a small fillet to make it look like it's a ceramic mug. Just around both of those. Cool. And now that I've got that, we can technically 3D print this. And the way you do that, just if you want to try or just to know the way to 3D print stuff from CAD, you just go over to your bodies, expand out the folder, select the body you want to 3D print, and you right click and you hit Save as STL. Okay. And this new window will pop up. And
oh, these are all triangles, huh?
Yeah, so
okay.
STL basically is just a bunch of triangles next to each other. And so that's what the STL tool does. It just creates a mesh file, a mesh of triangles. And you can adjust how dense you want your triangles to be, because the file will get larger if you choose a lot of quality. So I'm going to choose high. I always do high. I don't know. It's not that big of a file. And then if you have it hooked up to a slicer, you can just kick it right into the slicer from here, or you can just have it, how do I turn this off?
So you right click on the body.
Yep, so if you just go over to the thing in the item list there under bodies, you'll get this menu, and like halfway down there's Save as STL.
Huh, okay.
And as soon as you do that, and basically this will let you save out to your computer, and then you can upload it into a slicer, which I'll show you here real quick. Just to, oh, it didn't do what I wanted to. Oh, let's try it again. There. What isn't it? Huh. So I'm going to save that, I guess, in my projects folder. Yeah. And then, yeah, from there you can process it in your slicer.
Hey, it's coming out my printer now.
Well, that was so fast,
Good,
Rich. Good
nice.
job. Well done.
Seriously, I want your printer.
It's a very nice mug.
But yeah, so from there, yeah, next week we're going to play with Blender. But if you have interest in this type of modeling, I think we're probably going to do other series where we make the same or very similar mug, but in a completely different way, just to show you how first design is never, there's no right way to design anything. You can design it 12 different ways or infinite different ways. And then two, there's more tools that we haven't used yet that I think you guys will enjoy using. So this
Do you
is a way
know
to
when
do
those are going to be scheduled, or will they just be up on the board as they come up?
They're kind of in queue. Right now, we're looking at using a different program for next week, and then after that, we're looking, I think, at using the time to do 3D printing processing, like loading it into a slicer and then talking about like what the settings need to be and what the different settings do, and yeah, things you should look out for when you're 3D printing. I just thought it would be cool to spend time like talking about how to 3D print in the slicing software, because it's actually super important. But yeah, after that, or I don't know, maybe we'll jumble things around. I don't know.
Cool.
But yeah.
That is amazing. Thank you so much, Colin. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, no, thank you guys for.
This is extremely informative.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'd never seen that done before, and I appreciate watching. I don't think I can do it, but I think I can be dangerous trying.
That's how everybody starts. I didn't know anything about CAD until somebody sat me down in front of it, and I just started clicking on stuff. And today it's like super nice because there's YouTube and you can just look at tutorials for days and days and days. So totally encourage you to go check those out too, because they're great. But yeah, I'm actually going to jump out into the other thing going on. I don't know if you guys are aware, people are watching YouTube videos of different makers. So I'm going to actually jump over and join that. So
cool. Well, thanks so much. We'll look forward to your next one.
Yeah, it was good seeing you guys. Talk to you later.
Take care.
Much.
Bye.
We'll see you again.
Mm-hmm.
Zai Jian in Mandarin. See you again.
Bye.
Bye.